Frank Kendall is at war. Perhaps he doesn't regard himself as very belligerent, but that's what he is, a belligerent, someone engaged in war. And 100 things beside his newspaper remind him of the fact. That gas mask is a reminder that he may be bombed from the air. Though he's not yet had reason to use it, the threat of poison raining from the sky remains a danger to his home and family. His food card is evidence that evil forces are working overtime to sink the ships which bring him wheat and meat from abroad. His home, which is his castle, is a barrier of darkness against the enemy. At dusk, he seals up every window so that not a chink of light shall penetrate the blackout. And all this because Frank Kendall has gone to war with Germany. This is his war. Sometimes he wonders how it all happened. It seems such a few months ago that he lived in a country at peace, where peace seemed the only possible condition, where war was incredible. The same peace which brooded over the countryside inspired the minds of men. Their rivalries were the rivalries of sport, and in sport the eagerness to win is tempered by the standards of fair play and sportsmanship. The same spirit ran through his feelings about other countries. International affairs, he felt, were played according to rules, with public opinion as a sort of referee to see that no unfair advantage was taken. Then suddenly it's all changed. That man Hitler breaks all his promises and sends his soldiers marching into Czechoslovakia. The millions of men which have been pressed into military service in Germany are seen to have been trained for the one obvious purpose, aggression. By aggression, Hitler stole Czechoslovakia and started to threaten Poland. Frank Kendall approved the stand which the British government took against further aggression. The whole nation approved it. But still he didn't realize that war was coming. It was unthinkable that Germany, despite all her preparations, her frenzied construction of the Siegfried Line, should wish to go to war again, twice in 25 years. German ships bombarded Westerplatte, the Polish port outside Danzig. German mechanized armies invaded Poland from 3 sides. And Germany overran Poland. An independent state was wiped out in 18 days. The British government declared war in the name of Frank Kendall and 45 million more like him. Immediately the campaign of barbarous sea warfare commenced. First victim, the Athenia, sunk 3 hours after the declaration of war, 200 miles out in the Atlantic. The Nazis' plans were well laid. By mine and submarine, the Nazis have continued the onslaught, concentrating on fishermen, light ships and unarmed merchant vessels, British and neutral alike. Their aim? To frighten shipping away from our ports by inhuman methods of warfare. Crews and passengers were left to their fate by the brutal U-boats. The Nazis hoped to stop the supply of food and raw materials to Britain. Why did the Germans not immediately bomb London, Birmingham, Manchester, Glasgow? Terrorizing civilians was part of their policy in Poland. The answer is that Britain was ready and able to bomb German cities in return. And that is the only argument which Germany understands. Hitler built a great air force with thousands of machines. He has trained thousands of pilots. But he hesitates to bomb countries which can hit back at his own people. For the Allies, too, have a great air force. They have worked hard to catch up on the advantage which the Germans gained when we held on grimly to the hopes of peace. In factories up and down Britain and France, the splendid aeroplanes which have proved their mettle on patrols and reconnaissances and in occasional combat are being turned out in huge numbers. munitions are piling up in vast quantities. Torpedoes. Tanks and military vehicles are in mass production, ready to meet the attack made by Hitler in a desperate bid to save himself. And the new British armies are taking shape on a scale that rivals the victorious effort of 1914-1918. Finally, the shipyards are making their tremendous contribution, sending new men of war down the slipways to guard the freedom of commerce, and feverishly building new merchant tonnage to replace the losses by mine and U-boat warfare. This tremendous effort is vitally necessary because without it, the Allies could not hope to win. Remember Poland, remember Czechoslovakia, and think what the Germans would do if they came here. The cost will run into billions of pounds. 2 or 3 years before the war, our expenditure on defense was 250 million. Within a few months now, it will be 10 times as much, 2,500 million. Diagrams hardly convey its immensity, but it's impossible to find pictures which illustrate so much expenditure. Only by the severest economy and by the sternest sacrifices can the necessary money be found. And it's Frank Kendall, among others, who will have to find it. How does the whole thing strike him?
Well, Jack seems to be having a pretty exciting time at sea. There's no doubt he's doing his bit all right. Here we are at home, nice and comfortable, sitting round the fireside. Do you know, it makes me feel I'm not pulling my weight in this war.
If that's how you feel about it, why not try and put a little more into your group saving scheme each week and help in that way?
Yes, my dear, but it's not so easy to find a bit more on top of what I'm already saving. So I'll certainly try and cut down on something or the other. Don't know what it'll be. But what about your side?
Well, I'll try and help if I can and save a little out of my housekeeping money. It'll be a bit of a struggle, though, mind you.
Well, we can't do more than do our best. And after all, perhaps that's the only way we shall ever save any money at all.
Kendall works in an engineering shop, and by the skill of his hands is already making a valuable contribution to the war effort of his country. But to him, this is not enough. Following up his ideas of the night before, he holds a little meeting in the works on payday.
Well, boys, see what this means? We're all asked to pull together. So what about putting a bit more in the group savings each week?
Well, Frank, what can we do about it?
I know we're all doing our little bit to help win the war with the job we are doing, but I do think we could help pay for it as well, and at the same time, save a little money for ourselves. Now, what about it, boys? So when you draw your wages, boys, well, just put by as much as you can in the old kitty.
So Frank Kendall and his pals, when they receive their week's money, put as much of it as they can afford back into savings certificates.
Thank you.
Then again this week?
No, I'll take another $50.
Jim, may?
Such is the method employed in this factory. In some works, of course, the money never passes and can be put into savings by deductions from your pay by mutual arrangement with your employer. But the principle's the same. The money goes to win the war. And I think that's the end of our story, except for one final word from our chief character.
I'm Frank Kendall in this picture, but don't forget, Frank Kendall is really you.
Yes, Frank Kendall is really you, and this is your war. How much are you saving for your country?